Hello, how we doing? Um, Today's a little bit different to normal. We are on my phone and I'm sitting in the living room, well, the dining room, by my books because we're not doing the budgeting live today because reasons which I will get into shortly. When you guys have come in, I will get into those. Hey Lisa, how are you, darling? It's lovely to see you. Idaho Garden Girl, hello. It's great to see you. I hope you guys can hear me. I've got the main thing going off in my office and I'm just working off my phone right here, right now. So like I said, I hope you guys can hear me and everything is cool. So it's been a bit of a week and normally I would be doing my budgeting live at this time, or I would have done it 3 hours ago. However, we've had some stuff happen. Hey Karen at Rose's Allotment Adventures, how you doing, darling? Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. That is really great to hear. I'm really glad that you guys can hear me properly. I'm just trying to angle my phone. So yeah, why have I not done my budgeting live today? Well, okay, so 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I was having a nice little afternoon nap on the couch and I got a phone call from Tunny. And he said, where are you? What are you doing? And I said, well, I've just woken up from a nap because the phone woke me up. And he said, that's okay. He said, look, I don't want you to panic, but, and I'm like, don't panic, but, okay. 3 of the worst words you can possibly say to anyone with PTSD and autism and ADHD and all of those things combined, which I have all of 3. So, I'm just like immediately sitting upright going, okay, what's happened? Are you alive? What's going on? And he's like, yes, I'm alive or I wouldn't have called you. He said, but I have been in an accident. And I went, okay, what's happened? And he said, well, I got T-boned by a taxi, which sent the van. He clocked him on, hey, Andale, how are you, darling? The taxi driver was on the wrong side of the road and he hit him on the driver's side door, shooting him across the main road, over the curb, into a tree. The tree ricocheted him off back into the road and the van went over, blocking the entire road. And I panicked, as you can imagine. I was an absolute wreck. He said, listen, he said, the ambulance have already been, they've checked me out, I'm okay. I'm like, okay. And he said, the police are here. I have to wait here with the van because obviously we have controlled drugs on the back. And I can't leave until they pick up the van because I have to take what I haven't delivered has to go back to the yard. I was like, okay, that's cool. So they said they'll be here in a couple of hours. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. So he would have been back at a reasonably normal time. However, they didn't turn up for 9 hours. He didn't get home until about 12:15 this morning. And finally went to bed at about 1 o'clock this morning after he had something to eat. Sorry, I'm still a bit choked about it because obviously it's been a bit of a shock all round. His boss asked him yesterday when he saw him to take the stuff back because obviously his boss had to come back to the yard to book all of the stuff in that he hadn't delivered. And his boss had asked him to come back to work in the afternoon. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me? I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, he's asked me to come back this afternoon, in the afternoon. And I went, you got to be joking. You can't do this. You need to have at least a day off to make sure that nothing's, you know, going to happen after the adrenaline boost drops. I said, well, I feel fine at the moment. I'll see how I am in the morning. Okay, so we got to bed at about 1 o'clock this morning, and closer to 2 o'clock, sorry. Woke up at around 6 o'clock, and, you know, because, you know, bathroom breaks and things, and he came shooting out after me, and he was dressed ready for work, and I went, where are you going? And he went, he said, I'm going to work. I went, you are not. I said, you've only had 4 hours sleep. You've been in a major accident. You can't go to work like this. And he's like, well, I feel fine. So he ended up going to work at 6:30 this morning. He's been ringing me quite often to say, you know, that he's okay. Yeah, he is disgusting behavior from his work. He definitely is going to be incredibly sore, and I think in the morning that's going to hit him. But I wanted to do this live to explain why I haven't done my normal live, and I wanted to just do something a little bit more cheerful and a little bit more uplifting and a little bit more fun, because I kind of feel like I need it right now. And yeah, I feel like, sorry, I feel like I need it right now, because I am worried for him, because thankfully he's got no bruising that's come out yet or anything like that, but my concern is that that stuff will come out in the next 24 hours, and you know, that's normally what happens. My ex-husband used to work in insurance claims for a big insurance company in Australia, one of the biggest actually, and he would say to me that most of the injuries, even if people didn't show signs of it in the first straight away, it would be in the next 48 hours when the adrenaline drop hits. So yeah, thank you. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate you very, very much. Yeah, I do think he'll get whiplash if nothing else. And I think the bruising will probably show itself in the next few hours, and probably this evening we'll see some of that. But I just wanted to hang out with you guys because yeah, I just did. And I'm sitting here, bless her, Karen from Rose's Allotment Gardens, she and I have been Skyping most of today on and off, and she's been keeping me company, and I just felt like I wanted to explain what happened and let you guys know that he's okay. Right now we know that he's okay, and just hang out with you guys. And I know we haven't hung out for ages. So one of the things that Tanny has started to do is to bring down my stuff bring down my stuff from storage. And because most of my books and artwork supplies and such have been in storage for the last 2 to 3 years, and I've missed them tremendously, and I didn't really realize how much until he brought 10 boxes down from storage, and in those boxes were some of my cookbooks. Not all of them, because this entire bookcase could be rammed full with them. So but I have a few, and I wanted to share some of my bestest favorites with you, because I've been going through them while I was talking to Karen. I was like, I want to share these because some of them are really amazing books, and I wanted to sort of maybe once a month or one, you know, have a, when I do my chit chat lives, maybe show a couple of books off and go through a few of them. And, you know, and just so you know, I have actually cooked out of every single one of them over the years. I have actually cooked out of every single one of them, and I have over 500 books. So, you know, so I thought, I picked 4 specifically for today. I've picked out one that is, I think, hey Joyce, how are you, darling? No, you're welcome, welcome in. I'm just about to show you guys 4 of my favorite cookbooks. And one of these, there's that giggle, yeah. One of them is the Larus Gastronomic. Now, if you are serious about cooking, or you want to give someone a wedding present or a moving in present, oh, okay, that's so sweet of you, thank you. I can think of none better than this book right here. Now, they update it every 2 to 5 years. Because obviously there are new things that happen in cookery, and my old copy of this, which I had, I actually gave to my brother-in-law because he is seriously getting into his cooking. This copy that I have here, this one with the nice big black box, actually is the first one, and that has the section on kitchen chemistry, you know, the whole Heston Blumenthal kind of kitchen chemistry. And Dale, darling, yes, thank you so much, that's very sweet of you. Now these, it is very posh, it is very posh, and Larus are very well known for their encyclopedic type books. Hi Feathered Fran's Homestead, how are you? And this not only goes through every single possible terminology in cooking, but it also has basic recipes in it as well. Obviously it has and it also has chefs and things that you may find. So it just, that's the part of the A's, but it has little little blurbs on classic chefs and the ones that have done something quite amazing with cooking and such and that kind of thing. So it goes through ingredients, it goes through especially ingredients that you may not have heard of, you're not really sure what they mean. It goes through terms that you may not know what they mean. It goes through everything. And videos are so charming, they really, really are. So they have the basic classics in it. In this one here, so it explains about an allemande, which is a white sauce described as German to differentiate it from the brown espagnole, which is the Spanish sauce, although both these basic sauces are of French origin. Made with veal or poultry stock, allemande sauce accompanies offal, poached chicken, vegetables and eggs, made with a fish or mushroom fumet, which is the frothy stuff. It is served with fish, but it actually has the basic recipe for a classic allemande and 2 versions with the veal stock and oh gosh, I can't read it. What? Oh, hang on, I can't read upside down. well, yeah, so one with a fish stock and one with a meat stock. So it just goes through everything. And if you want one book to that someone may want all of that kind of information because they're very, very serious about their cooking, then I would suggest getting them a Larus Gastronomic, because it just teaches you everything there is possible to know. Okay, so who have we got here? We've got Canal. Hi, Canal. How are you? Lovely to see you. So yeah, this is one of my bestest favorites, and when I can afford to get the upgraded versions, I tend to do that. My first one that I bought was £80, and that was back in 2002. That was the one that I gave to my brother-in-law. So yeah, but it does have a complete section on kitchen gastronomy, which is the basic kitchen chemistry type stuff, which you know, that people like Heston Blumenthal do. So yeah, it's really an amazing book. And if nothing else, for someone who is learning to cook, or someone who is incredibly interested in going further with their cooking, this would be the book to have, because it does explain everything. So there's no confusion with different people's way of saying things or different words that are used. It's all in here and explained really thoroughly. So yeah, that's one of my bestest favorites. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, so that's the Larus Gastronomic, and it does normally come with a little protective box to put it in, because it is a bit posh, and it doesn't come in paperback form. It is only a hardback thing. So yeah, this one's very special. I'm gonna pop that one away. This is the 2013 edition, I think. I don't think I've got one since then, but yeah, I'm even if I do get a new one, this one I'll keep, because it is the first one that has the whole section on kitchen chemistry, even though I never did it, and I'm not really that adventurous to try it. Even when I was a chef, it wasn't something that I was interested in, but the whole processes really fascinate me, and at least then I can talk to someone about it and know what I'm talking about, kind of, sort of, maybe, or understand what they're saying, right? Because sometimes you need to know what they're talking about. So I'm going to put that one back down here because it's very heavy and very big. Okay, so how are we going? So how are you guys doing? Do you have a favorite cookbook? Do you have a favorite cookbook? Is there one that you have that has just followed you everywhere in life, that you would cry if you lost, or search heaven and earth for another copy of? You know, or one that has very treasured recipes in it, whether it's one that's written by a family member, or just one that you found along the way that is just everything that you've always wanted to know, or everything that you need in it. Let me know in the comments. I would love to know. Always go back to my grandmother's joy of cooking. She left me. Awesome. Fantastic. That's really cool. That is very, very cool. I have, okay, so if I come to yours, I want all the foam and mist and smoke and pops and sparkles. Well, I can feed you glitter, and then you can have all the smoke and pops and sparkles you want, love. glitter. Okay. I have my mum's Cookery in colour, which is very precious to me. Nice. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. I have a few books that I originally had from my mum, which over the years have gone walkabout, but I have desperately tried to replace. Everything is always better with glitter. Yes! See, look, this sign here, it says eat glitter for breakfast and shine all day. But yeah, I do have replicas of books that my mother had because they over the years they've got lost. I have compiled my favorites into my own book, and I might cry if I lost it or was taken from me. I know the feeling, darling. For a while I got away from cookbooks, but I missed them and have started to gather them again. I really enjoy things in print, especially the ones with my grandmama's handwriting. Nice. That is fantastic. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, I have a few books which I haven't unpacked yet, which are replicas of ones that my mum had. I think I only really have one that my mum used to have here that I had to find, and I used, when my mum passed away, I got a small inheritance and I purchased all the cookbooks that I'd grown up with. So, and with specific chefs, I bought the entire collection, and I found them all like through secondhand bookshops and on Amazon secondhand and in charity shops and secondhand shops and all that kind of thing. And I was trying to find them all. So I did, and I have certain ones that have been very special to me because they were ones that I grew up with in the house. Not showing those today. May show them next month. We shall just have to wait and see. But I do have quite a few books to go through. So, you know, my go-to cookbook is my red and white Betty Crocker's cookbook. It's just basic cooking. I got it when I was 12 years old. All my mum's recipes are written on 3x5 cards. I got those when she passed. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's so sweet. I have a A4 notebook that I wrote in when I was working, when I came up with new recipes that could then go into where I was working at the time or when I was running my own place. And those recipes have become my legacy, I suppose. And my eldest son will probably get those eventually. Because they're recipes that he asks for from time to time or asks me to make. So, you know, we shall just have to wait and see. He may not want it once he sees this lot because he realizes he's going to get all this lot as well. So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. So when I was working in an office, which I didn't do for very long, I knew very early on that I didn't want to work in an office, but I was there for 6 months, and I was there long enough for the book person to come through and to drop off some. They had about a dozen books, and they'd leave samples of them on the coffee table in the staff room, and if you wanted them, you could order them, and you'd have to pay the money on the day that they did the collection of the order, which was fine. And that wasn't a problem. But I found this book, and I tell you what, it's the Land O'Lakes Treasury of Country Recipes. Now, I know that there's several in this collection of Land O'Lakes books, but this blue one in particular has a bit of a, you know, I've used it hundreds of times. Now, there are 3 very specific recipes in it that I have used more than once, and in fact they are recipes that are conducive to Christmas in our house. If they didn't turn up on Christmas Day, people would think I wasn't very well. They were like, what? So I'm going to find them if I can. Okay, yeah, and I think they're all in the same kind of section. Right. Now, this is the only sort of American style biscuit that I've ever made, and it is a Parmesan butter pan biscuit, and it's those ones. Oh God, I hope you can see that. Those I used to make all the time, and if we had soup or anything like that, or I made pasta bakes and things, then I'd make those to go with it for the kids when I had enough time. Now, they are really yummy. They really do look good, and they really do taste good, and they are so worth it. And what I loved about them, it was a bread thing that the kids could just grab out of the tin, because obviously the tin had cooled down. I'd serve it in the tin. I wouldn't take them out. And they could grab them as they wanted. They didn't have to be cut because they were in small pieces. They could just grab them when whatever they wanted. There's no yeast involved, which is great. So it didn't take hours and hours of sitting around and waiting, you know, for things like that. But so they're very, very basic. And at some point I will make a video on creating these themselves. Obviously, I will be sourcing. I will say that this is where the recipes come from. So, you know, but it is one of our bestest favorites. And when my son saw it yesterday, because he was here yesterday, he actually left half an hour before I got the phone call from Tanny. He said, Mum, if you don't make those again, you and I aren't friends anymore. So I have to make some, and I'll probably have to make them fairly soon, because Tanny and I are going away next weekend. We're going to Blackpool, and we will be staying there from Friday through to Sunday, so that he can have a couple of days off and we can chill out and just do nothing, apparently. I'm not quite sure what you do on holiday. I haven't had one since I was 14 years old, and I'm a very different person to when I was then. So, you know, but yeah, these Parmesan butter pan biscuits, definitely the things to go. Now, this next one I'm going to show you is a Nutmeg Streusel muffin. And that's them there. As you can see, they are amazing. Make a video so we can learn the recipe? Absolutely, I will. Absolutely, I will. Because we're going away next weekend, I thought I would make them for him. I want to make sure that my hand's back into doing things, because things have been a little bit up and down here for the last couple of weeks, and yesterday was just a combination of all of that, making me hungry. So yeah, the Nutmeg Streusel muffins are a buttermilk based muffin, and they are so squishy. Do you know? All right, so in America you call them muffins. Here in the UK we call them cupcakes. They're pretty much the same kind of thing, and they, you know, the normal kind of cupcake muffin type thing for me tends to be a little bit dry, and a little, it can be quite kind of claggy in your mouth. It kind of balls up, do you know what I mean, in your mouth, and it sticks and it goes a bit. I tend to stay away from them if I can. However, these ones here are soft, and they've got a beautiful crumb in them, and they just have a lot of wonderful flavor and texture that just makes you think, do you know what, I could have 2 of those. Oh wait, you mean I've already had 3? Oh, 5 you say? Okay, so you know, you kind of go there with them, but but they are definitely worthwhile making, and yes, they will be on the list of things that I will make a video on at some point. So then we have to find the next one, and this is one that I used to make on Christmas morning. Oh, before we get to that, muffins would go good with my coffee. Yeah, they kind of would. You know, the nutmeg streusel muffins, muffins are really awesome. Do you know what? As a kid, I used to love bran muffins. They were the only ones that I would eat as a kid, and as a teenager, I would never touch any other muffin apart from English muffins, but that's a completely different animal. But, you know, the cupcakey type muffin, because they had a very similar crumb to these streusel ones, and it is very sort of like fluffy and crummy and yummy. So yeah, so when I used to make bread, when I was a little bit more active and doing the things, I used to make the hearty honey wheat bread, which is that one there, and I'd make it on the weekend, and the kids used to love it. I haven't done that for a while, but it's so worthwhile doing. And I have to admit that Leanne over at Mennonite Farmhouse is making me feel very guilty for not making bread for a very, very long time. The other ones that I used to make were the oatmeal molasses rolls, which are those ones, and they are lush. They are amazing, and I used to make those when we had like a stew or a roast, because they soak up a lot of really beautiful juices, and because they have a flavor of their own, they kind of add to the whole thing, which was really, really nice. It wasn't just having it on the side, it was having something that was really yummy on the side as well. Right, I found it. So this is one of the things that I used in our home at Christmas when the kids were little, and I had foster kids, and at one point I had 16 foster kids, as well as my own 2, plus myself and my ex-husband. So Christmas had to be regimented. It couldn't just be a free-for-all. It just wasn't going to work that way. So what I used to do was breakfast would be, the kids weren't allowed to come and talk to me or come and wake me up until 7 o'clock, because I'd normally be up until 3 or 4 o'clock finishing off doing things for Christmas Day. So they would come in at about 7 to wake me up, but they weren't allowed to do so unless their room was tidy, their beds were made, and they were washed and dressed. And then they could come and see me at 7 o'clock and come and wake me up. Now, and once they'd done that, I would get up. They would all get their Santa stocking, because that had all the like little toys and sweeties and notebooks and pens and all of that kind of stuff. But everyone would have the same thing. Hi, love and light. How are you, darling? I'm doing okay. I'm doing a lot better than I have been. So yeah, but yeah, right at the beginning is an explanation of what's been going on in the last 24 hours. So yeah, but I'm doing good. Thanks, honey. So yeah, Christmas breakfast used to be 4 types of bacon. No, I know that sounds really odd, but it used to be 4 types of bacon. I would do streaky bacon, which is the strips, which is, I suppose that's American bacon. My ex-husband used to like the loin bacon, so he'd have that. I would make bacon pancake strips, and I would do maple bacon as well. Then there would be poached eggs, hard-boiled eggs, fried eggs, or poached in butter, basically. That's how I do my fried eggs, is I poach them in butter. And scrambled eggs. Then there would be things like whatever else. There would be pancakes, there would be waffles, there would be, you know, all kinds of stuff, and bits and pieces to go with it. There'd be homemade jams, there'd be homemade jellies, all of the things. But one of the things that always used to be there were these double caramel raisin rolls. Those. And my son said to me, Mom, can you make them again this year, please? So I said yes. So I will be making those for Christmas this year. So yeah. Oh, I'm glad you're doing well today, darling. That's really good to hear. So yeah, but this book is great. It has a lot of different all kinds of things in it, from stews to poultry to all kinds of things. A lot of them I haven't done past that, but you know, some of the things I've kind of looked at over the years and thought, no, I could play with that one, or I could do this one, or I could do that one. So, you know, oh, I have done this though. I have done this one, which is the star-studded fruit basket. Ooh. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. But yeah, I have done that one before. And that, again, was done for someone's birthday or something. They really do look awesome. They really do look awesome. So this book in particular is available. It's actually still available brand new. There are other colored covers, but this one in particular is the blue one. The Land O'Lakes Treasury of Country Recipes. And it is a gem. This is the 8th copy I've owned because they keep going walkabout. For some reason, they seem to grow legs and walk away. So, yeah, if it goes walking away again, I would be very cross. So thoughtful and sweet of you. My family only wants me to bring the ham and homemade mac and cheese. Bless you. Christmas at our house, like I said, used to be a regimented thing. And after breakfast, the kids would get their Santa sack. Now, the Santa sack had presents in it that were from Santa, and everything in it was under $20 because we were living in Australia at the time. So everything in it, nothing in it cost more than $20. And again, most people got the same kind of stuff. So, you know, there were little toys, and there was PJs and all kinds of, you know, bits and pieces and stuff like that in it, but everyone pretty much got the same thing. So then after they'd opened the Santa sacks, we would, because by then, you know, I would have cleaned up, or the older kids and myself would have cleaned up from breakfast. We used to leave everything out that was from breakfast that hadn't been eaten, just in case the little ones wanted to help themselves or whatever, because there was always food in my house, and that kids could help themselves too, because of the nature of the children that I got as foster children. So if they didn't want to eat straight away, they could go and grab something else and what have you, because Christmas lunch used to be at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So by the time everyone had opened up all their stuff and, you know, everything was cleaned up from breakfast, you know, we were kind of on the way to getting everything ready for Christmas lunch. I would have cooked off all the meats the day before, which is a habit that I still do. I still cook the meats the day before, and I pre-slice them so that I don't need to worry about any of that on the day. All of the veg would have been prepped, so it just needed to go in the oven. If it needed to go in the oven, a lot of the time I would have pre-cooked the veg, because being in Australia, the last thing you want is hot stuff on Christmas Day, because it's 40 degrees, 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. So whoever wants to look that up, good luck. So if I was doing roast vegetables, they'd be turned into salads. Like I do a Mediterranean roast vegetable salad, but there'd be all sorts of different salads that were there. And a lot of it was pre-made in the day or two before Christmas. And then, you know, so there was all that kind of stuff that went out, and desserts and all of that sort of thing. So after about that, well, just before that time, so as anything that needed to be cooking was cooking, we would have family presents. Now, those family presents were ones that their family, or if they didn't have family, we had bought. So they were personal things. And what we did was each child and each person in the family, we went round in a circle, and they were things that were delivered to the house or that we'd purchased for the kids ourselves. Okay, so they were the stuff that was under the Christmas tree. So we used to, each child, one by one, would have a present to unwrap so that they could choose, they would be able to see it. They wouldn't get overwhelmed by it all, and everyone would be able to appreciate it with them. Okay, so we probably do that 4 or 5 times, maybe 6 times, and then it'd be time for lunch. And once we'd had lunch, and as we were tidying up, you know, the kids would go outside to play with toys. Okay, play with their new stuff. They'd have a bit of time out in the afternoon while we were cleaning up from dinner. So between that time, I would get everything ready for Christmas tea. As you can imagine, it was definitely an army in progress doing this whole thing. And then I would, because it was all cold cuts and more salad, but it was more seafood, and we'd have lobsters and prawns and crabs and all kinds of clam type things, shellfish and all kinds of things, and it would all be laid out in platters for the evening for Christmas tea. And then we'd have a lot more of the sweet type things, like so desserts and stuff like that. There would be a lot more of those out. So the cake would come out, and I'd do a Christmas pudding ice cream bomb for the kids, and you know, all of that kind of stuff was out at that point on the table groaning. During that afternoon, if the kids had big presents, and what I'm classing as big presents would be bikes or outside toys and stuff like that, that would be the time that they got them, was in that afternoon time when it can be really, they can lose interest, you know, and start acting up. So they would get the bikes and the skateboards and all of the outdoor toys, and then they'd be allowed to go and play with them outside, because obviously they'd gone outside and found them all out there and gone, oh no, Santa's brought more things. But it was like, no, Santa didn't buy these. We bought these. These are for you, you know, but Santa didn't buy them. Santa's stuff was the stuff in the stocking and the pillowcase kind of thing. So, yeah, the big presents then came out, like the outdoor stuff. So they had stuff to do all afternoon and into the evening. But you used to find that it was more the adults that ate in the evening, because of all the seafood and stuff and salads, and the kids would just come and pick every now and again. They come and grab something, and you'd see them disappear off into the distance, and you know, they'd come back and get another handful of something else and all that kind of thing. So it was really cool, and by the time it was bedtime, they weren't arguing. They were just like ready for it. They were like, okay, we go in bed now. Which was awesome, which was really, really cool. So it's usually cold and snowing here in Colorado for Christmas. Yeah. Lucky to see snow even twice a year here in Alabama. I understand that. I used to live in a place where we didn't get snow. So when it does snow here, and it does a couple of times a year, not for very much, and it's a light dusting mostly, I get very excited. And if you have a look at some of my shorts, you'll see how excited I get about the snow. So yeah, so that's my Land O'Lakes books. It's the one that I absolutely adore, because it reminds me very much of a time when Christmas in our house was very busy and fun, and we had so much fun. I can't even tell you. So yeah, but that's one of the ones that brings back a lot of treasured memories for me. Okay, so the next one. Ooh. So my next book. This is one that I found in a charity shop. Now, I have a thing for vintage cookbooks. I love them, okay, because I find that things like this, which is the Good Housekeeping Cookery book, which was out of print before I was born, I think. Oh, it might not be. Hang on. Oh, this is the last printing, and it was in 1983. So I was around, but not by much. I was around, but not by much. But these little vintage cookbooks are absolute gold. Now, this one, again, it's more for the home cook, and it goes through cooking terms and basic methods, and all kinds of things that you need to do, different terms, all of that kind of stuff. And it starts at the beginning and works all the way through. So you've got your starters, you've got your soups, you've got your fish, you've got your meat. But it also doesn't have a lot of pictures. Now, I think that puts a lot of people off now, because they want pictures with it. But honestly, the recipes are very quick, very simply written. And for someone who's just learning, it's actually probably a really good kind of book to have. Yes, a dusting, but an occasional snow that lasts a day or two if we're really lucky. Yeah, I totally hear you. I totally hear that. So, you know, I mean, these are great. These books are great. And you find little gems of recipes in them. At the beginning of this, it goes through a lot of different types of vegetables and what they are. And then you get your recipes afterwards. So, you know, so in here, we've got a recipe for Anna potatoes, which I knew when I was working as Pommes Anna, because it's a French side dish, which is basically a layered potato and butter bake, which is really, really yummy. Yeah, one of my favorites, even though I'm not a big potato fan, but there are a couple of potato dishes that I really do like, and that's one of them. And it's a really nice one for, you know, the occasional kind of thing. But yeah, there's a lot of little gems in here of old-fashioned recipes that are cheap and cheerful to make, and go a little bit further, you know. And if you're a very basic cook, and it's a good way to try and expand your knowledge without giving you too much information, if that makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, people get a little bit, I mean, this is gorgeous. It's the Gâteau Saint Honor. Now, these ones you still see around in patisseries, but you certainly don't see it looking like that. And that is very vintage. That is very vintage, the way that it looks there. But I don't care, actually. I kind of like the way it looks. I mean, we don't use a lot of glacé cherries for very much anymore, but, you know, I kind of really like it. I kind of like it. But yeah, I think very, very basic things, traditional cakes, and going through different types of sponges, different types of pastry, all of that kind of thing. And like I said, if you're just starting out, or, you know, you want to expand what you do know a little bit, these are the best books to find. And the only place you'll find them is in charity shops or secondhand shops and places like that. This one cost me all of £1. Cost me all of £1. So yeah, but I adore it because it just has so many different things. It's even got a section on cocktails, which is kind of nice. Things like an old fashioned, a Negroni. Just for the record, Negronis are one of the worst tasting things on the planet. Don't go there. Don't go there. It's just like, no, don't do it. They've got all sorts from dry martinis to whiskey sours and Bucks Fizz and a Tom Collins. Ooh. Oh, sorry, wrong section. Let's keep going. But yeah, it's a great kind of book for classic traditional cooking that's not too complicated. Yeah, and you don't get to feel overwhelmed by, because it's just what it says it is, you know. I mean, like, okay, for example, in here there is a recipe for walnut cake. It's got 2, 4, 6, 7 lines of information. And 2 of those is the heat to cook it in, and how about turning it out and on a wire rack to cool. But you know, it's very basic, simply written, bish bash bosh, we're sorted and it's done. So it's not overwhelming, whereas I've seen walnut cake recipes that are an essay, and it can be very overwhelming with people. I would say you had me at cocktails, but to be honest, you had me at cakes. I can understand that. I know you and your cake. You. Hey, how you doing, Rich? Aw, welcome in. I'm just doing something a bit different today. Yeah, right at the beginning explains everything, so I'm not going to go through it twice because we're just having fun. Cakes and cocktails. Yes, it's Friday. Absolutely. Cake and cocktails. Yes. But yeah, no, so finding yourself a very vintage, old, Good Housekeeping style cookery book is a godsend. Okay, so yeah, if you want something like that that's very traditional, very easy to understand, these are the books. And there's not a lot of pictures either, so you don't feel like you have to make it look like it does in the book. Because I've actually spoken to a lot of people who have, or especially a lot of younger cooks, who are like, yeah, but mine doesn't look like it does in the book, or mine doesn't look like it does in the magazine, or, you know, it didn't look like that on Pinterest. And I said, well, does it taste good? And they're like, well, yeah. And it's like, well, isn't that what matters? Sure, you don't want it to look like a dog's dinner, but, you know, it doesn't have to look like the pictures. I think explaining to people that food photography is a bit of a cheat sometimes, and they do certain things to make the food look better, suddenly clicks something in their head and they just go, oh, okay, so it doesn't have to look like that. And I'm like, no, it really doesn't. The simple recipes are always better. Yes, that's the goal. Make it taste good. Close your eyes and eat. Yep, that's the one. That is absolutely it. Rich, absolutely it. Now, I'm going to introduce you. Now, I don't know about you, but there are some cookbooks that are out there that have a story. And I love them because of the story. And this particular book is one I found in a cheap bookshop. Oh, gosh. Years ago. I don't know if it's still available. I don't know if you can get it anymore. But the story in it broke my heart, made me laugh, made me cry, gave me all of the feels. Now, it's called Dear Francesca, A Cookbook with Love, and it's by Mary Conti. Contini, sorry. Mary Contini. Sorry. So this is the story of her family. Her great-great-grandmother moved to Scotland from dire poverty in I've got to look it up. I'm going to read it to you because I can't, and it's got pictures of her family in here as well, you know, full pictures of her family. All of the pictures in here are of her Italian family. Okay, so I want to read this to you because she's even got, because she mentions so many members of her family in the book, she's actually put her family tree on there so people can understand it, which is kind of sweet. So right at the beginning is a letter from her mum. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that Mary Contini, her mother was Francesca. Her mother was Francesca, I believe. So it starts, Dear Francesca, when I was young, I felt I had no heritage. Our family had no roots. As the daughter of an Italian immigrant living in a small Scottish community, I was different from my friends. As a child, you felt the same. When asked at the tender age of 6 if you were Italian or Scottish, you said with huge insight, I feel Italian when I'm in Scotland and Scottish when I'm in Italy. The truth is, Francesca, you have truly honourable roots. Your great-grandparents emigrated from poverty and squalor and worked hard and long to give you a better future. I have no material things left from them to give you. No furniture, jewellery, or paintings handed down from generation to generation. They came to Scotland with no more than they could carry. What they have left you is an instinct to live healthily and eat well, and most precious of all, a strong respect for God, family, and your neighbour. So, dear Francesca, here in these pages is that heritage of your family that was handed down to me by word of mouth with humour and love. Treasure it. It's more precious than jewels. All my love, Mummy. I mean, dudes, seriously? In the fields? In the fields. It hits you right in the fields. All the time. Now, the first 50 pages, the first 48 pages, so pretty much the first 50 pages, is pretty much all of the family history, who went where, what they came from, you know, and all of that stuff. And it's just beautiful. And at the beginning of every chapter and on some of the recipes, there is also part of the story. So it's one of those books that you don't just flip through because it's, I want this recipe or I want that recipe. You have to sit down, you actually read it. And hey, Scott, how are you? Thanks for coming in. So yeah, this particular book really gets me in the feels. And when I prefer to read a book like this than to read a novel that has no basis in reality and, you know, is such a rose-colored view on life in general, which is kind of why I stick to things like fantasy and science fiction when I do read. But this really is something very, very special. I'm blessed spending time with you. Oh, it is a lovely book. And if you guys can get hold of it, it is called Dear Francesca, A Cookbook with Love, and it's by Mary Contini. So yeah, if you can get a hold of it, please do, because honestly, you will love it as much as I do. Now, It goes through basic ingredients. It goes through all of that kind of thing. It explains what antipasti is. Well, it's her mother's explanation of what antipasti is. And then it's got all the different types of antipasti that they used to make. So, you know, and using the ingredients that they had around them when they emigrated, not just the things that they only had when they were in Italy. So it just, I don't know how to explain it. I don't, because it's one of those books that you need to read. This one here. Okay, now I've made this one. It's small pasta in broth. Okay, here. And it's got a little story with it that says, Francesca, please make this soup. It's a great standby and really easy to prepare. Apart from anything, you love it. So that gives it pride of place in my book. Look for a piece of beef that is well hung with a thin slice of fat. The beef should be deep, dark purple red and look appetizingly tender. And then it's got the recipe underneath, but it's like her mother's teaching her how to make it. You know, hi Grace and Fire. Oh, hello, just listening in, but wanted to say hello. I smashed the like button too. Oh, thanks, honey. So yeah, what I do when I am feeling a little bit down in the dumps is I will go through my favorite of my cookbooks, and the ones that I'm going through with you today are top on my list. Okay, so this one definitely hits me in the feels. If I'm missing like my nan, then I will read something like this because it makes me feel closer to her. But yeah, so, and I don't know why. I don't know why, because she was Welsh. And this is all about an Italian family, but it kind of just gets you in the feels. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so for some reason, it makes me feel closer to my family, even though it's about somebody else's family, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's just beautiful. And the way that she explains how to make the recipes is very much like a mother teaching a daughter how to do it. Rather than just, you do this, you do this, you do this. It's like part of the story, which you can't get better than that. Now, it's quite a big book, really. It's nearly 350 pages. This is them now. Okay, so that's them now. That's the family now. Okay. And at the beginning, these are the great grandparents that emigrated from Italy right at the beginning there. So, you know, but they emigrated at a time when here in the UK there wasn't, especially up in Scotland, there wasn't a lot of their kind of ingredients. You know, there wasn't a lot of Italian ingredients, and they had to rely very heavily on packages from Italy that used to come at Christmas time, because that's when stuff was made, and you know that they could only they could only get things at that point. So you know and olive oil in this country at that point was only sold at the chemist shop or the pharmacy in little bottles, because it was used for cleaning ears. And I remember that from when I was a kid. It's not been on the shelf for a very long time in big bottles and stuff like that. It's only been in little bottles. My mum used to buy it at the chemist. She used to have to go and buy it. let's have a look at what we've got here. It's probably because there's an element of the book that reminds you of your nan. Yes, there is. There's a lot of that. I do that too. Still listening, love. Just making breakfast for my honey bunny. No worries, darling. What a great photo and book. I'm going to look for it for Holly for Christmas. She was born in Italy. Honestly, it just, every time I pick it up, it hits me in the feels. I'm not going to lie. And it really does. And I have made recipes out of it, and the recipes are amazing. Okay, they are really, really good. And like I said, they are easy to explain because it's like a mother teaching a daughter. So you've got that element of someone's holding your hand while you're doing it, which is really nice. And it's such a personal way of doing it. Blue, maybe you should write a cookbook. Well, it's funny you should say that. I've actually done that. I sold one copy. So I might have to rewrite it and do it again. But yeah, I have actually written a cookbook. But I think if I was going to write one again now, it would be in a different style and probably in a different way of doing it. I don't know. We just have to wait and see. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Maybe when I'm famous. Maybe. Right, okay, here we go. All right, I'll do this. When I get monetized, I'll start writing my book. Okay? I will start writing it. It will be, I very much doubt whether it'll be published like by a publisher. I think I'll have to self-publish it, but that's okay because I can do that through Amazon and I can do that through lulu.com. And I'll do it that way. How's that? If I get myself monetized, if and when, I will write my cookbook. You have a unique history, living in different places, large family, foster children. You've got a great story for a cookbook. I do. I do. I do. Yeah, I do. I do. You're right. Okay. I have a cookbook that encompasses family recipes from family that's no longer here. I uploaded it to Snapfish and gave it to my kids for Christmas. Oh, that is amazing. That's awesome. There's only 2 recipes from my mother that I ever wanted and I was ever interested in. And that was, one was her, hello, I'm walking my dogs and listening, so if I don't respond, sorry, but I wanted to hear you live. Oh, thanks, darling. No, you're fine. That's all good. How do I explain it? Hang on. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Okay, so what was I saying? Yes, the 2 recipes I always wanted from my mum's recipe book, and that was her tuna curry. Okay, you got to remember that my mum was my adopted mum. She was actually my biological grandmother. Sorry, I had a phone call, but I'm back. Oh, welcome back, Andale. Thank you so much, you beautiful lady. So my mum was my biological grandmother. She adopted me when I was 2 years old, her and my grandfather, and they're the people that I call mum and dad. Okay, so I grew up with her tuna curry recipe. Now, she grew up in Wales, here in the UK, because obviously she's from Wales, and her mum is my Nana Lucy that sometimes you'll hear me speak about. And me and my Nana Lucy were very, very close. But mum, her cooking was very much from during the Second World War and onwards. So she learned to cook very basic meals with the least of ingredients, but make the most of what she had, and her tuna curry is one of those. So that to me was very exotic, very special when she made it, even though it's made with tinned tuna. It's got a little bit of milk in it. It's got sultanas in it. It has basically Coleman's curry sauce, curry powder. You know, they're little tins of curry powder, just some of that in it. And she used to put little sides on where she had like pickled onion and, or yeah, but not like that sort of pickled onion. Okay, we're talking like she'd pickled some onion very quickly. There'd be like banana that was dipped in lemon and rolled in coconut. Little things to put on the side of the curry. That was very interesting. Little bit of mango chutney. There was always a bit of mango chutney. But that's kind of one of those little recipes that always reminds you of home. Do you know what I mean? And it throws you back to your childhood. Hey, Cottonwood Ranch, how are you? It's good to see you. The other recipe that I always wanted from my mum was her tomato relish. Now, her tomato relish I used to get in trouble with all the time as a child, because she would buy a big box, like a proper, like 20 kilo box every year of tomatoes and a 10 kilo bag of onions every year. And she would make her tomato relish, and that would be her thing that she would do every single year. And I wanted that recipe because I used to live on it. I was never patient enough as a child, being an autistic child with ADHD. I'd open up a jar and just start scooping it out with a spoon when it was not quite ready. And I was always getting in trouble with things like that. A friend of mine's nan was Indian and lived in Suffolk. I'd go over to my friend's parents' home. Her nan was there cooking the most delightful chicken curry. I wish I asked her for that recipe. Oh, I tell you what, Glenda, a lot of Indian, that kind of area of Asia is, every family's got their own recipe for curry. Every single one of them. It's slightly different everywhere you go. Every family has a different one. And unless you're watching them, you won't have a clue what's going in there. Tuna curry is delicious. I've replicated it a few times. It's never really come out the same way, but it's come pretty close a few times. I have tried to make it, because I've always watched her. I always used to watch what she was doing, but she always used to scoop me out the kitchen as well because she didn't want someone watching her. So, but I, over the years, got enough information that I could put it up here and kind of replicate it when I could. But I'm going to show you guys now the one book that I remember as a kid being in our house. No, you're right, but man, I still think about it, and the smell was so heavenly too. I know, right? I tell you what, there is nothing like the smells of curry cooking, or, you know, any kind of Asian food cooking. It's just incredible. Just the spices, let alone anything else. And then they add more to it and more to it and more to it. And you're just like, what? There's one recipe that I used to make for, that was, I found the recipe through a show that was on TV over here, which was a cooking competition between high-end Michelin chefs. And it was a recipe that was well, it wasn't created by Athol Kutcher at all, but he brought it into the competition and made it his own. It was a meatball kind of patty about this big that was made for a Maharaja he was pretty old and he'd lost all his teeth. So it had to be very, very soft so that he could literally squash it in his mouth before eating it. And I remade that once, and I'm not sure how often I would ever do it again, because there are actually 40 ingredients. 40 ingredients to this one tiny little patty, like that size. It's about that thick, and it's just big, and it's so soft, but it is absolutely amazing. And it, like I said, it was created for this Maharaja who was incredibly old and he'd lost all his teeth. So it had to be soft. Yeah, 40 ingredients. Like I said, I'm not sure how often I would make it again, but I think if I'm ever feeling extravagant and experimental and feeling a little bit more chefy, I might give it a go, but I'd have to feel all those things at once. And most days it's one or the other. But yeah, it's incredible. I'm pretty sure if you Google the description that I've given, that you will find it. But it's just an incredible experience to eat it. Is there a cookbook of British Isles recipes that I would recommend? Yes, but I have to wait till it comes out of storage. Now, I have kind of decided that when I do my chit chat videos now, all my lives now, we're going to go through a few of my books. Yeah, okay. Time for a full disclosure here. I've got over 1,000 cookbooks. Full disclosure, yeah, I have over 1,000 cookbooks, and I will be going through maybe 5 or 6 of them every time I can. The book in particular isn't here yet. It's still up in storage, but I will pull it out for next month just for you, Rich. Okay? But right now, the one book that I want to show you guys that you need an entire room just for your cookbooks. Dude, you have no idea. I have over 1,000 cookbooks. I have over 200 gardening books. I have about 300 herbalism books and herbal medicine books and nutrition books and dietitian books and all of those kinds of things, because obviously that is my job. That's my day job when I choose to take on clients. I haven't taken on clients for quite some time. I have a lot of my artwork books, things to do with my stuff as being an artist. I've got probably a couple of hundred of those, and I've also got a lot of my more spiritual books, which I've got probably a couple of hundred of those as well. My eventual goal is to have a library. A house that is big enough to have a library in, and that would be awesome, and that would be my happy place. I think I'm probably one of a tiny few Americans that loves Yorkshire pudding and clotted cream. Wish I could make both. Are you talking about that together? Are you talking about that together, Glenda? You can make both. I'm just wondering if she's talking about having it as a pudding, as in, you know, with a bit of golden syrup drizzled on top as well. Because when we make them here, and I do that, Tanny, who is pure Yorkshire, because obviously we live in Yorkshire, we live in York, he calls me a minger. Okay, when kids were at home, I would make all kinds of recipes. Now pretty much only recipes that have lots of ingredients, soups. Everything else I fix now is few ingredients and quick to prepare. I know, right? We all do it. We all get to the easier part. You can make both. You absolutely can. And at some point I will be doing a tutorial video on making clotted cream. Wow, what an incredible collection. I'm looking for herbal books for natural healing. My great-great-grandmother was a herbalist, and not together, separate. It is only pancake batter. Actually, blender. All right. I will teach you how to make Yorkshire puddings right now, this second. Okay. Okay. Got one of those in your house? Okay. Got one of those in your house. Doesn't matter what size it is. Okay. But you want this. You just want a cup. Doesn't matter what size the cup is. All right. Let me know when you got a pen. Interested in learning more about herbal remedies? I can teach you that. But that's good. Lol. I used to live 20 minutes from Cambridge. I miss the food there. Yeah, I do too. My butt doesn't. Oh. So yeah. Okay, writing it down. A cup of any size. And in that, 1 cup of flour. And then ditch it in your bowl. 1 cup of milk. Ditch that in your bowl. 1 cup of eggs. Dump that in your bowl. I'm going to run Sweet Pea. I'm looking very forward to checking out your recipes. Take good care until the next time, and happy weekend to you and everyone. Thank you, darling. Have a really, really awesome rest of your day. Love you. Thank you for being here. Now, the next thing you need is a pinch of salt. Just a pinch of salt. Just a little pinch. Whatever salt you want. And then beat it to within an inch of its life. And then beat it again. And then beat it again until all the lumps are out and all that kind of thing. And let it sit for an hour. Oh, thanks, darling. Love you too. Then you want to turn your oven up to as high as it will go. Your oven needs to be as high as it will go. And you need to put in a muffin tin, a large muffin tin, with a little bit of oil, veg oil, or lard. Okay, you don't want to use tallow. It's better to use lard. Okay, if you're going to use that, or veg oil, just basic veg oil. Anything with a very high burn point. Now you want to put that in the very hot oven without anything in it except for the oil to start off with. Okay, and you want to keep it in there for a good 15 minutes until the oil or the fat that you've put in there is smoking, and I mean about to combust, smoking. Okay, and you pull it out and you half fill, no more than half fill, the muffin pieces very, very quickly with a little bit of batter. Okay, and then you chuck that in the oven, and it will take about 20 minutes. They'll take about 15-20 minutes. All right, and then they'll puff up. They'll just go poof, and then they'll be, and then you take them out and repeat the process until all your batter's done. Or you just get a roasting dish, and then you put the oil or the lard or whatever you're using in there and use that, and then get that smoking hot, and you can make a really, really huge one. But you don't want to have any pan that you're using, you do not want it to be any higher filled than half, because it will go up. When you put it back in the oven, do you back the temperature down? No. No. You need it to, because what happens is that when you've got the smoking hot muffin tin, okay, and you pour the batter in, it's already created a seal around itself. It's sealed that piece, okay? And then you want to push it, make sure that that heat goes straight up into those Yorkshire puddings so that they will expand naturally on their own. So then you put it, yeah, so keep it super, super hot. Yeah. Now, if you're doing a really, really big one, it may take about 30 minutes to do, but just keep an eye on it. That's all. Just keep an eye on it. Hey, Scott. How you doing? Hi, everyone in chat. Sorry I'm late. Porridge came by. I did have notification on. Oh, bless you. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're just talking about how to make Yorkshire puddings. Hey, Steve D. How are you, sweetheart? It's good to see you. We're just sitting in my dining room today, not in my office, because I didn't feel like being in my office. I wanted to have a look at some of my books and share some of my books with you guys because I needed a bit of a cheer up. So yeah, that's all you do, darling. That's it. But don't, when you're putting them out and they're cooling off, just pop them on a rack, but they should be fine. They should be fine. Yep. You're welcome. Yes, I'm doing really well. I'm doing a lot better than I was. To be honest, I was having a bit of a after your live, we had a bit of a shock. I've put it at the beginning of the live. I don't really want to go through it all over again because I'm in a better place at this point. But if you guys go back and watch the beginning, probably 15 to 30 minutes of the video, you'll see what happened yesterday, and yeah, see why I've changed plan today. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Glenda. And if there are any recipes that you guys want me to make videos of, or you want to talk to me about here on the lives, I'm more than happy to do so. I'm fine. Just came back from form filling. Had enough of that today. I totally get that. Oh, you're welcome, Rich. Will do. Yep. It is fabulous with beef gravy, roast, and horseradish. It is. Thank you for the recipe. So simple. I might try it. It is. It's really easy, and people get very confused with it, and it's so simple. It's so simple. It really is. It really, really is. And in fact, Tanny's gone from, you got to remember that Tanny was basically, he's got Yorkshire in his blood because this is where he's from. He changed the recipe that he made to my one because mine was better. And he used to use his grandmother's recipe. So I'm not saying anything, but it works. Yeah. So the last book I wanted to share with you guys today was one of the ones that was in our household when I was growing up, and one that I probably used to sit on the rug on the floor and read all the time. Hang on. Oh, good grief. Fall is approaching. Roast gravy, horseradish with Yorkshire pudding sounds awesome. Yeah, if I make a roast dinner, it doesn't matter if it's beef. It could be pork. It could be chicken. It could be turkey. It could be anything. But if I dare to make a roast dinner and don't make Yorkshire puddings, I have a mutiny on my hands. I want to make it for my grandma. Her dad is from Lancaster. She has never had foods from England. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That would be awesome. Okay, so this guy was on the TV. It's a sin. It is a sin. It's a mortal sin. It's caused divorces, not having decent Yorkshires. I'm not even kidding. Okay, this is very serious stuff we've been talking about. Simple but serious. Okay. Okay, so this guy was one of the TV chefs when I was a kid. back. Whew. Okay. Sorry about that. I wasn't. It was actually Tanny on the phone. Can you believe? Yeah, here I am. It was Tanny on the phone. He's been ringing me all day. If you go and watch the first 15-30 minutes of the video, or the live, you will know why. I disappeared because he rang, and because I'm on my phone and I'm running the live from my PC, it kind of went all a bit Pete Tong. All right, let's be so secret. She cannot share that part with us. She's off making a quick batch of Yorkshire puddings. Here I am. Yes, okay, so this goes on TV. Gonna watch it now and come back in 15. Okay, right. Robert Carrier, an incredible chef, cook, and foodie. Very much was all over the TV when I was a kid. Very much all over the TV when I was a kid. And this particular book was one that I used to read a million times. And I've probably read it a million times. And part of the reason is that right at the beginning is Robert Carrier's actual garden, but drawn in 18th century style. No, just making sure that you guys can see that. Yeah, it's beautiful. And so not only did this book introduce me to food, it introduced me to gardens and veg gardens. I always wanted a vegetable garden that looked like that. It is a beautiful garden diagram. Now, this was his house. This was Robert Carrier's house. It's just a little pile of bricks. Do you know what I mean? Just a little one. Just a little one. But he very much cooked in the French style. That was very much his thing. This one, hey Sarah Vlogs, how are you? This one was very much an international cookbook. Okay, so you got introduced to all kinds of different foods. It's lovely to see you too. And you know, it was just a really cool book. So I used to read it, and you know, I explained before, my parents are a lot older, so many of their books weren't novels really. I learnt to read on the Poldark books. I'm doing good, thank you, Sarah. I am doing good. Okay, so this is the herb garden at Hintlesham Hall, which was Robert Carrier's pile of bricks. So you can kind of see some photos of it there. You know, it's so pretty. You know, it's goals. You know, and it was, you know, it was really bringing to my mind. You know, it was showing me what was possible. You know, that was just his herb garden. Just his herb garden. Do you know what I mean? But he used to explain it all and where it all came from and such, like, you know, and it was really cool. And in this book, he goes through different herbs, different spices, thickening agents, moisteners, you know, which like your liquids. It goes through the emergency shelf of what, you know, what we now call our dry pantry. Okay, so, or our prep pantry or whatever, you know, things that we don't normally use, but it's tinned stuff and things like that. So yeah, but he's got a list here of the ones that he would have on his emergency shelf. Okay, so this is his list. So when I first started shopping as an adult for my own home, these were the things that were in my cupboard. These were the things that were in my cupboard. But they were things that I would use as well. So it wasn't so much of like, it wasn't the stuff that I couldn't find, and it wasn't the stuff that I wouldn't use, but I would pick the ones that I would use and I would have those. And that was where my base shopping list came from for tins and packets for my dry store pantry. So yeah, he's also got a guide to cooking terms in here, which goes on forever. He also goes through kitchen implements and cookware and casseroles. This was all stuff that was churning through my head when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. You know, this was all stuff because I was reading this particular book all the time. Obviously, this isn't my mum's copy, okay, because all of my mum's books got lost, but this is a exact copy of that book. So, but I also, over the years, collected the rest of Robert Carrier's books in this. These are all Robert Carrier books down here and all the ones that I could find. So yeah, I did collect a few. Hi Blue, caught up with the Startish. No doubt you will keep a close eye on him. Yes, better to be overbearing than not. Love for both. Thank you, sweetheart. I do appreciate that very, very much. I do. So then he starts with his appetizers, so different hors d'oeuvres, horses duvers, as some of us call it. You know, and he goes through different things like that. So, but they're all from, like I said, dishes from around the world. So you can have whatever you want, and he explains where they're from and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really nice because then you can have a selection of all kinds of different things. It doesn't have to be this and this and this. You can kind of mix and match, and that's what I really love. That's what I learned to do. You know, so I learned to mix and match foods through reading this book. The amount of stuff that I learned through reading this book, I can't even explain to you, you know, because yeah, it is really, really, really well written. Holy shit, Pam just found out. I'm so sorry. You must be very shaken. Thank God he's okay. Well, he thinks he is. Yeah. Glad he's checking in. Sending you a massive hug, sister. Yeah, thanks, darling. I do appreciate it. It is really cool that it's broken down that way. And, I mean, you can tell that it's an old one because obviously the pictures are pretty dated. But, you know what? Don't care. That's fine, darling. I read typo, so it's all good. I completely understand. It's all good. So yeah, so he goes through different types of things, and he's got like, you got your soups, like most, you got your stocks. He goes through making different stocks. The old books are the best, and they are such a jumping off point for you too. And I think if you get a really good cookbook and you learn the basics from it, okay, you then are able to use those recipes as a jumping off point to making your own food and your own recipes from that jumping off point. Okay, so if you learn to do things like a minestrone soup and you don't have all the ingredients that are exactly in there, but you've got these, then you know that you can add those because you've been able to do this, you know. So, or this flavor is very similar and it's not going to overpower, so you can actually do that. But it's so It's very garden to table. It really, really is very, very garden to table. Now, he also does a section on sauces, and I think learning to make sauces is so really important. And I'm not just saying that. There are amount of videos that I've watched that have the meal and no sauce, and I sort of sit there and I think, why? Okay, I think people are very scared of sauces. They're not quite sure what to do with them. They think they're only suitable in certain situations and they can only go with this and that and something else. But a sauce is what brings your entire meal together. So if you have a meat and vegetables and stuff like that, you want to have some kind of a gravy or velouté or even a cheese sauce or something like that, just to help the fluidity and the chewing process as well, let alone the added flavor and richness. And it does bring the dish together, because at that, if you just have meat and a few veg, it's just meat and a few veg, you know what I mean? But if you have a really nice gravy that goes with it, it all really does hold itself together. So it's just about finding which sauces go with what. But if you have a basic gravy and a basic cream sauce and you know, a basic tomato sauce and what have you, you know, they're really important to have, and you got this, you know. Okay. Need to get back to work. Just watch the beginning of your live. Keep an eye on him all weekend. Sending thoughts and prayers your way, Blue. Thank you, Rich, so much, darling. Have a really, really awesome rest of your day, Dar. I have an Amish cookbook from families in my area. The book is almost 30 years old. Very good. Very basic recipes, and I agree. They really do help launch those new recipes. They do. They do, Glenda. Still walking. Put the dogs up. But wow, I love your stories. Love your books and your family. Oh, thank you, Laura. That's so sweet. That's very sweet of you. So, yeah, you know, learning to make your basic sauces is really, really important. And, you know, because if you know how to make a basic white sauce, then you already know how to make a cheese sauce, and you already know how to make an onion sauce, and you already know how to make a bread sauce, because they're just ingredients that get added in afterwards. You know, so it's not hard to do. They're really, really not. Hi, Sharon's blog. So sorry, I'm speaking and typing because I'm walking. Pretty funny stuff here. Okay. Oh, bless you. No worries, Scotty. Take care. Yeah, we hope that too. I'm really hoping too. So he should be okay. He's a bit of a tough nut. So we'll just keep him quiet for the weekend. You take care, love. So yeah, and as you learn and become more adept at sauces, then you can try other ones, and your confidence builds. So if you learn very basic sauces, then you might be more confident to try something a little bit new and a little bit different and try that, you know. So that's always a really good thing to do as well. How do peeps? Hello, Sika. Hello, my friend. How are you doing, honey? How you doing? You know, so at some point, what, like I've said for the last few weeks, what I want to do is do a very basic cooking series, so that people will learn the different sauces and what they go with, and then they'll learn different basic, you know, the basics, and they can put them together, and you know, so they'll be there forever. So people can learn how to make a demi-glace sauce. They can learn how to make a proper jus. They can learn how to make a proper gravy. They can learn how to make, you know, all of the things, the basics of the sauces, without, you know, or the basics on things to do with carrots or things to do with parsnips, or, you know, all of those things. So they've got the basics and they know how to do them, you know. Tough nuts are the worst blue. They do not reveal. I should know that one. Yeah, I know. But, Steve, I know the man. And all I have to do is poke him in the ribs. Trust me. I will poke him where I think it hurts. And if he jumps out of his skin, I'm going to know. So, yeah, I will be keeping a very close eye on him, I promise you. So, yeah. Sauces are really, really cool. And he's got so many. And there's always sweet sauces as well, you know. He's got a whole section on eggs, which will have to be basic. If I'm here, I don't even know how to roast water. That's okay. I can teach you how to do that. I can teach you how to do that. You know, I want people to learn how to cook and to be able to do the basics, because if they can't do the basics, then how are they going to be able to put a meal together? Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of people who don't know how to do that. And as things get worse and things get more drastic, as far as, you know, having to put things together they may not have known how to put together before, or they're looking at a few ingredients going, what do I do with it? I want them to be able to have the opportunity to go, oh, okay, well, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, you know. So that's what I'm looking at, really. That's what I'm looking at, really, is being able to teach people how to do all of that kind of stuff without it being a hassle, so that it's easy to understand and comprehend. And, you know, so people's skills can get better. So even though, you know, it may be difficult to get certain ingredients or what have you, I want people to be able to do the basics so they can use what they have, pardon me, and go, okay, well, I can do this. Learn to make those basic sauces or gravies or whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, and because they're not taught in school and stuff anymore, you know, this is the stuff that kids need to know. And because there's so many adults out there who don't even know how to do it, because they stopped teaching cooking properly back in the 90s, I think. You know, so we've got 2-3 generations of kids that haven't got a clue what they're doing at all. So, you know, yeah, so then, like, he's got a section on fish. Okay, so we can really tell this one's a bit dated because it's got salmon in aspic, which, you know, it's not a bad thing. They don't really teach cooking in schools anymore. What they do is they say, right, we're doing this next week. I need you to get a recipe, get all the ingredients, come in, and then you can cook it here. And that's pretty much how they do cooking classes now, unless you go to culinary school, which is why so many kids give up, because they don't have anyone to teach them the basics, and they're not taught the basics. They're just gone, oh, we're going to make a cake this week. So, you know, I did home economics and loved it. Yeah. Was that because there was lots of girls in the class? Knowing how to cook is very important. I found that out when I was left alone to look after 4 kids. I know, darling. Yep. It's such an important thing, you know, and faced with ingredients you may not have used before, or you recognize them, you know what they are, but you don't know how to use them, is, you know, or to make it go as far as it possibly can, or, you know, all sorts of different ways of using them. If you're stuck with those ingredients for the next 6 months, you want to be able to make different meals, you know. So what I want to be able to teach people is how to do that. Look at the same ingredients for 6 months and go, actually, I can do this time, or I'm going to do that this time, or I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to do it that way. And the only way they can do that is to have better skills. So, yeah. Right, so we've got all those. It's like having a basic soup recipe, or, you know, a basic stew recipe or casserole recipe, you know. Being able to know what to do with fish if you have to go fishing to go and get a meal for yourself and your kids or whatever. At least you'll know how to prepare it, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, on the same with meat, because a lot of people just think, oh, you just chuck it in a pan or you chuck it in the oven. Well, yes and no, but there are better ways of cooking certain types of meat than there are of others. And you want to be able, if you want to be able to eat certain meat, then you want to be able to get the cheaper cuts, and to have the cheaper cuts you need to know how to cook them and the best way to do that. So it's all knowledge and important knowledge, and it's stuff that we're just not teaching our kids anymore, and it's so sad. But then we can't teach what we don't know. I actually learned at about 8 or 9 or went without Blue. I would nip home from school and cook lunch, and for my niece who lived without while her mum sat on the sofa smoking, watching TV. Darling, the amount of times I've heard that from kids, you got no idea. Because I used to be a foster parent and I had over 72 kids in 10 years. General hospital, and my mum was at work. Yeah. No, I totally get it, darling. I totally get it. I do. You know. All right. So, I mean, my kids had a general knowledge of being able to feed themselves at a very young age, but that was more so that they were independent more than anything. They weren't forced to cook, but they did learn certain skills, and they knew how to put certain foods together and what to do, so that if I wasn't home on time because I was chefing and cooking for other people, then they would be able to get themselves something until I got home to finish off dinner. Oh, thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve. I loved all my kids, not gonna lie. Loved all my kids, still do. Okay, so let's have a look. Yeah, so it goes through all sorts of different things, all sorts of different bits and pieces. Yeah. So it is a pretty old book, this one. It is, I had to find it secondhand. Back in 1982, this one was released. And it was originally published in 1963. So yeah, you will need to have a look for it secondhand if that's what you want to do. But it is Robert Carrier's Great Dishes of the World. And yeah, this one's a very special one to me, because this is one that pretty much fostered cooking, and it put the garden and the food together for me. Do you know what I mean? So the garden, without the garden you couldn't have the food, and that's what clicked into my head through reading this book. So yeah, it very much, and for a very young age, because that was one of Mum's treasured ones. But yeah, like I said, this isn't Mum's one. It was just my one. But I found it again and purchased it when I could. So yeah. Okay. So guys, if you have specific recipes or types of food that you would be interested in seeing me cook, let me know. You can put it in the comments in the live, or you can put it in the comments below, or you can email me. All my socials and stuff are down below in the description, so you can get hold of me anywhere on there. I am probably going to call this one for today, and yeah, we're going to call this one for today, I think, because we've been at it for almost 2 hours. Tanny will be due home any minute now, and I would just like to spend some time with him. So yeah, but I've had a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed sharing some of my favorite cookbooks with you guys. I'll have some more out at some point in my next chit chat. In my September chit chat video, I will have some more out. It's a great live stream, Blue. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Idaho Garden Girl. I really do appreciate that. Thanks, Steve D. You take care, sweetheart. I'm going to have to run round to the office to stop this live. So you guys take it easy. I love you guys heaps. Blessings.